Come and shoot the breeze with myself and guest as we deep dive into some topics that may just pin your eyelids right back.
You know, I think we all sort of see the problems or what the problem is. But I think the thing is what are the solutions? How do we actually, get together? Because the power is in the people. And they've always retained power by keeping these divisions, whether it's through religion, gender and sexuality, whatever, race. The powers that be use these things to divide us. Yeah. And now Te Tiriti or Waitangi is actually being used as one of those tools.
Yeah.
But I've always felt like if we knew what it actually says, and the government actually are the ones that have the ambiguity around it. It's not us. We know exactly what that thing says and what it guaranteed all of us, that no matter what race we are. But if we all knew what it said, and how come we don't, like with the Americans, when we go to school, we don't get up in the morning and like they know their constitution, they know their founding fathers and who wrote it, they know who the amendments, the Fifth Amendment, and et cetera, et cetera. If we knew this about our founding constitution and the constitution of this nation, well, there's actually two, but Te Tiriti or Waitangi was for anyone else that was coming to these shores to know the house rules. But if we all knew this, and if this was taught in schools, I could guarantee you there would have been a revolution yesterday, or today, tomorrow. Everyone would be going, wait on, this is what this says, this is how it protects all of us, and these rights are being taken away from all of us, from a body of people that don't constitutionally have the power to do this.
Yeah.
So I think that's a big problem, and now it's been used as a tool to divide and have separatism, where we have two classes of people. But we've always had two classes of people.
Yeah.
But it wasn't about having two classes of people. It was about having two ways to exist. You can exist in a I guess a known self-governing sort of way. So each community, hapu whānau, they govern themselves. They know their territory. They have control over their resources and how they look after that. Or you can slide into the other existence, which is under a governing structure, which was established by the Queen. But that governing body has done for 183 years all these things to, one, cover what Te Tiriti or Waitangi says, and have their way, like to extinguish the other existence, which the other existence was actually the primary sovereign power. The governance structure coming under a secondary sovereign, or a sovereign from another nation, that we allowed for them to set up a governing structure, so their people that were here on their shores could have another set of rules to live by, but that wasn't to impede on those of the sovereign people. Yes. But if we all knew this and what the four articles said, then we would know where we fit in it. And if I didn't want to be in my sovereign capacity within my hapu whānau community, I could slide into the other Article 1 and be governed. And those that are governed also have the opportunity to slide in and coexist under their own sovereignty in their own communities as well. We just don't understand the document. Anyway, yeah.
And so Te Pou, there's three written documents and there's one oral document. Is that correct?
Yep.
And so what is the oral
I just recently found out or heard that the fourth one also was written, but then pulled out. It was taken out after the signing because it was the written one was the spiritual. The fourth one was the spiritual aspect and also the protection of customary rights that were already here. So that had to be removed because one, it makes it a covenant now. It's not just a treaty. It becomes a sacred covenant when they put their spiritual aspect into it and the protection of religious beliefs and faith in God and whatever. But anyway, yeah, those are the first three were written and the fourth one is an oral. But I've just recently found out, I've heard that it was actually written and pulled out intentionally. Mm.
So is that when we talk about the religious or spiritual side of it, is that talking about, say, the Queen's English religion, spiritual, or are we talking Māori sovereignty and their...
Well, what Article 4 actually says, and it's really simple, it was protection of religious beliefs and customary practices. So that's all it was. And at the time, well, the Queen was the head of the Anglican Church, so they done that in the Church of England, and her being the head of state, which the state is the people of who subject, so that is the state. That was her faith, but what it says is protection of religious beliefs. Now, see, this can be a little bit of a problem too. What if your religious belief is that if your wife, I don't know, looks at the neighbour for too long, we could potentially stone her to death. This is it's protect. So we actually need to really be careful around that article, and what that actually says. But but that's what I was going off anyway. I just thought at the time, the main religion around the world, which the King William, or even when it went to Queen Victoria, had 50% of the world in their palm. So I'm assuming that, they weren't really looking at any other religious beliefs, e.g. Islam, Muslim, Quran, etc.
Yeah. So with the co-governance, you were also talking about that in a recording that I saw you do, the lives, and I have to say I love your your rawness and the way that you are presenting your truth for everyone. I've really appreciated that, and I call it straight up the guts. That's why I see you straight up the guts, and it's like, there's no messing around with what we know you believe and how you see it. With that, you were talking about the co-governance. Just run over that for us.
Yeah, my whole thing on that is, it's not for me anyway. Like co-governance, though a lot of Māori were, really like, we want co-governance, and it's good to have Māori in that political sphere, I guess, to have a voice just with the structure and the way that it's run. But in Te Tiriti or Waitangi, the last thing we want is a co-governance, because what it's actually doing is it's now legislating the sovereign, legislated into a partnership and a subjected partner within governance. So basically we'll lose our Article 2 rights. That's what they're trying to do. They're trying to take away our Article 2 rights, but they can't. For me to be actually clear on this, it's good to have a clear understanding on what the 4 articles say.
Thank you. I was just going to say, what's Article 2? Yeah, okay. Cool.
So Article 1 said, Te waka meaning o ngā rangatira, so the Confederation of Chiefs, which was established 5 years earlier in the He Whakaputanga, and that was where te waka meaning o ngā rangatira o ngā hapu o New Tiriti. So that is the collective chiefs of the hapu of New Tiriti had formed themselves and were recognised and acknowledged by King William IV as a sovereign and independent state, and that was the sovereign body. And then it follows on to say, and the individual chiefs not yet joined. But I won't talk about he whakapūtanga too much.
Yeah.
What that was when King William gifted this flag, and this flag was gifted for a trade and a commerce on his water. At the time, the Crown had the dominion over the water and maritime law, so he opened up a way for us to trade internationally and domestically using this flag. So that was 1835. So when we look at Article 1 of Te Tiriti, it starts off by acknowledging the sovereign, te waka meaning o ngā rangatira. So that is the confederation. And then it goes on to say, an individual chiefs not yet joined in the sacred confederation yield to Her Majesty, the Queen of England, kāwanatanga, which is the governance on her land over her subjects. So that's Article 1. Article 2 is that our tino rangatiratanga and our sovereignty, so the tangata whenua that we're already here and recognised as the sovereign, retain their sovereignty over all their property that's tangible and spiritual. And then the second part to Article 2 was how the Queen was able to purchase our land through preemption. She had exclusive preemption, so only the Queen can purchase our land or person appointed by her to treat with us in that behalf. So that was Article 2. That was quite clear. Article 3 and 4 was simple. Article 3 was she gave us a koha back. So we gave her the koha of being able to govern her people, set up a governance to govern her people, and the right to purchase our land. And in return, she promised us protection the same way her uncle did, King William IV. So we have King's protection and Queen's protection through the HMS. So she guaranteed her protection. Also, that tangata whenua get an additional right. So we retain our sovereign right and we get an additional right of the rights of her subjects in England. So even now we still have the British, we still have the 1688 Bill of Rights. Now I won't go into that, but this is actually a big deal. Article 4 was the protection of religious beliefs and our customary practices. And that's fully what it says. That's the translation of it. If you to translate it back, that's what it says. But the government, what they have done is they've set up through the Royal Commission and the Waitangi Tribunal this thing called the principles. And it's 3 principles. So they're saying, let's forget about the treaty and let's just run these 3 principles. We're going to say partnership, because we're in a partnership. So co-governance, where the sovereign now becomes the subjected partner in this partnership. Right. Protection, as if they're going to protect us, like that, because the HMS, and I don't know if you've seen my profile picture, but I'm with a guy in a white suit. He's the Commander-in-Chief of the Royal Navy. His name's David Proctor. He's our protection. He's contracted to us, not the government. Right. Anyway, that's neither here nor there, but the so the protection and the and the rights of his subjects. Anyway, so that's the 4 articles. That's as simple as I can put it. There's no ambiguity. The 3 principles. So it was protection, partnership, and participation. We get to participate too. Yay! Like they're going, forget the founding document of the nation. We're going to give you the 3 Ps. Well, it sounds like to me they missed the 4th one that they really want, which is paternal. Like they want to be our parent. So that's all the principles are. They're made up things that they've made up with the Waitangi Tribunal. They established the Waitangi Tribunal for Māori to, so we feel like we've been heard and we've been addressed. And we can forget about the treaty now because we're just talking about these 3 principles that they made up. You know, we never agreed to them. They've just said, here's the principles: partnership, protection, and participation. That's what we're going to give you instead of the treaty. You can forget about the treaty now. So when we go to court, which if we do breach your treaty rights, we'll take it to our special court that we've made for you, because you see, we can't take them to a criminal court. We can't say, well, this is a theft. Well, this is a crime against our right. Yeah. So we want to take you to the High Court and then into the Supreme Court and hold you accountable. No. They've created a court that can only give a recommendation to the Crown. They can't. Waitangi Tribunal have just said in the Te Paparahi o Te Raki report, Māori never ceded their sovereignty while signing the treaty. So the Waitangi Tribunal say, we recommend you give all Crown land back and you give them full commercial redress, so what you owe over the last 183 years, which Te Ara Whiti Crown lawyers have said the bill, it's uncalculable, like it would bankrupt the country countless times over. Now, here's the thing, I got a problem with this, because New Zealand taxpayer and myself, that's myself included, and Māori included, should not be paying back Crown bill. So we need to work out who is the Crown, because they all keep passing the hat over when you go to hold them accountable. Oh, no. You go talk to the Governor-General. Oh, no, I'm only talking for the King. Yeah. And the King has gone, no, he's got your democracy there. You guys will sort it out. So they're all just passing the accountability portai around.
Yes.
Yeah, so now going back to your original part of your question, my stance on co-governance. Well, we did have that additional right to work within the sphere of what we call tauiwi or Pākehā.
Yeah.
Although I don't really like using that term, because I consider myself a proud Pākehā. I come from solid Pākehā ancestors, and my grandfather comes straight from England. But it's to me, it's a mindset. You're either in a natural being and a natural way of living mindset, or you're in this corporate pyramid structural hierarchical sort of mindset where everything's got to be fenced in and labelled and owned and put in your box and put in your place. So that's how I see it. So the co-governance thing is like, I can see why Māori are like, we finally get a say, and they're going to consult us on things. Well, they've always consulted us. They've just never listened to us. So all we're doing now is legislating ourselves into a governmental position where they say, no, we're addressing you, Maoris, but you need to go through those ones that have been voted in and elected in. Usually they're self-elected too, because Māori, we don't want to pick none of you. I
know.
Yeah, so that's a problem, and then it's a problem for New Zealanders as well, because in this happening, the Kiwis are losing their rights, and they don't. A lot of them don't realise they're actually losing their rights through tangata whenua ceding their right. When we cede our rights over to this third party to our contract, Te Tiriti or Waitangi, because it's a contract between the monarch and tangata whenua, and it was a set of rules. But when we see, and the government are just a third party that have stepped in to take from the Governor-General the roles and responsibilities and duties of governance. But anyway, I won't get into that. But what they're doing is legislating Māori into being subjected to them. Therefore, Māori are forfeiting not just their own sovereign right and their right to self-governance and self-determination, but also the rights and protection of New Zealanders, because New Zealanders have a huge problem too. It's their government, which are a privately owned company owned by bankers and foreigners that control those puppets or Luxon in them. They have masters, and those masters do not work for us, the general public and tangata whenua of this nation. They actually work for themselves. And if you notice, since 1986, and that's where those guys stepped in, what they done was they used Muldoon and Jeffrey Palmer and National Party. They were all in on it at the time in 1986. They started working up to get rid of our 1852 Constitution, repealing it, and putting a 1986 Constitution Act, which actually ain't constituted. They repealed, so for those that are listening that don't understand, I'm trying to keep it as layman's as I can. To repeal the 1852 Constitution means to take it out. and start again. But the problem with that is there was nowhere for the 1986 government corporation or the banks to plant their feet because the constitution was removed. The only way they could plant their feet is by going back to Te Waka meaning o ngā rangatira, like the sovereign representatives here, and having it constituted lawfully. But they didn't do that. So since 1986, you name one thing that's gotten better through politics: housing, economics. We've lost heaps of land. Housing New Zealand. I was listing Kainga order. Well, New Zealand only have like 7 or 8% share in that. The rest is owned by foreigners. Yeah, I think it's over 50% of our farms and agriculture is owned by foreigners. Luxon actually done a really shocking job when he was with Air New Zealand, sold it to these foreigners. We've got to remember these foreigners that are buying all these assets, excluding the Chinese, who are all tied in anyway, are the ones that own our government or own the New Zealand government. Yes. They're the bosses. So New Zealand have actually giving the power over to a foreign banking company and others, WEF, WHO, they're all in on it. BlackRock are the shareholding investment company. They're all tied up in it. And that's who is running the country, not New Zealand for New Zealanders. And now we can bring that back. And, you know, nothing's gotten better. The health, the education, economy, nothing. Yeah. And it's controlled by the media, and BlackRock own 90% of the media here, TV, Hub News, etc., etc. Yeah. Sorry. So since 1986, when that corporation had taken out, repealed the act, and then inserted themselves as the governing body, we've been controlled by foreign ownership. Yeah. So even this facade of us having a democracy, we're not. We're picking the left wing or a right wing, same bird, or two cheeks, same ass.
Totally. Yeah. Yeah.
So why I say co-governance is bad is because the tangata whenua will be legislating themselves into a subjected position, therefore forfeiting the rights of the New Zealander as well as a subject to this foreign company, the New Zealand Government Corporation. And so this is why I've been not for it, but I have for a lot of tangata whenua, e.g. Takuta Ferris from Te Pāti Māori. He done a really excellent speech the other day in Parliament where he put the facts on the table, talking about that flag, here whakaputanga, and talking about what Te Tiriti actually means and says. So I see why Māori want to have a mouthpiece within those spheres, but I don't want us to be in there when it's subjecting, one, our right, and two, the rights of New Zealanders as well.
Yes, yes.
And I believe when we get a good understanding of what this document says, we will. It should bring us together. It should. Yeah, it's just having understanding around that document and what it says, and then we know how to coexist together and what lane we want to ride in. Do we want to ride in this hierarchical pyramid lane, or do we want to ride in this each community govern themselves and take care of their own interests and resources? And how do we do that and get that happening?
Exactly. And it seems like you know, what I feel's been happening a lot is there's a lot of talk about everything, you know, and I get that we have to talk about it all to sort it out and to find what lane we're in. I get that. But then who is actually structuring anything? Because I feel over these last few years we've had, definitely through the COVID era, we were brought into a destructive time. It's like we needed to pull ourselves out of places that we weren't wanting to be in anymore. You know, we're seeing all this kaka going on around us, and it's like, well, actually, I'm over that. I don't really want anything more to you know, I don't want to put my energy into that. So we've been pulling ourselves out of spaces that we thought were good for us that we know now aren't, all that. And now I feel over these next 2 years particularly, we're going to have it's like we're the architects now of this new world. And what is it like you're saying, what lane do you want to play in or roll in? Because it's going to be really, really important to define that for ourselves and to actually start building that into being. That's the bit that I'm sort of feeling like, how do we, or is there already, this sovereignty and this governance that we know we don't need to be in for sure, but in the actual governance of this governance we're talking about, but pulling ourselves back into that space where you're saying where we govern self. I mean, we know this is where we live in heart. There isn't any desire to harm anyone else. It's about actually being in unity and living in a space with nature, with our our planet, our Papatūānuku. We want to be one with it, not be opposed to it in any way, and have it taken away from us. Because I know years ago they sold all our fauna, the rights to fauna, and all of that to France, apparently. And I saw that whole thing in an actual documented state online, and then it just disappeared. I couldn't find it again. But apparently we don't even have rights to that, actually, to be able to put a silver fern somewhere or a fern anywhere, or it's actually not our right anymore. It's just ridiculous. So is there, what I think what my question is there something that's already, like, I know that a lot of, our iwi and hapu everywhere is sort of got sort of annoyed and lost with the elders too. A lot of the elders have sold out over these last few years. We've seen that shift as well, haven't we?
Yeah.
And so what I'm probably trying to say is there something now that's being, and you don't have to give away too much in this question or answer in case, if you don't want to, but is there something now that's actually being put in place that is starting to take form and actually,
well, definitely, there definitely is. I speak about it a lot, like I was saying earlier. I was saying, we all know what the problems are, and I've just identified a few of them. And but what are the solutions? Well, it starts in that document, Te Waka Meaning o ngā rangatira ngā hapu o Nutirini. So that is the sovereign body, and I like to think, well, we're all sovereign. We were born with these inherent sovereign rights, and this is the beauty of that document, is it says we all have this inherent sovereign right, but where do we sit in it, and what does it look like? So I want to mihi to the Confederation of Chiefs. They are a thing. So here Whakapūtanga document and Te Tiriti o Waitangi both start off talking of that sovereign body. They still meet in ngā huru, or the start of autumn, in Waitangi at Congress, where they congress. And it's not, there's two Waitangis. There's the top ground where the governments go with those Māori that have sold out and love to eat the kai of the government, which is the US dollar. And then you have the Confederation, which are down on the lower grounds at Taurangatira, that sit there in Congress, but they, always looked over. And what we need is that, which now with Tākuta Ferris in Parliament, that has shined the real big light on them. Even this year at Congress, there were a lot of Pākehā. And actually, when the rangatira, when the chiefs were getting up, they were acknowledging the Pākehā that had come to Congress. Though that place is private, and we've got to keep what is said in there private, and I can't talk too much on what's said, but it is an open forum where anyone can come in, sit down and listen and hear what's going on, because it's their interest as well. So that's one thing, recognising that sovereign body that is in those documents, so we can go forward and put forward our questions to them, so we can start working on the solutions. Now, I really believe, I don't just believe, I know in my heart that it needs to be decentralized. So that's the beauty with this Congress, is each representative of each whānau and hapu or community are going there as a representative of their community to, one, say who they are and where their territory is, and two, what their tikanga or their law is of their land, to frame their laws. So it's really good that a lot of Pākehā have been coming, and the chiefs all got up and acknowledged them, and actually they were a part of a conversation too. How do we introduce them into this sovereign collective as well?
Right.
And now I can't talk about what was said and that, but it was good. I can say that because that was my main question. Well, that was one of my two questions. That and where did the Southern tribes fit within this space? So yeah, we got the answers to that, and it was beautiful. So that's the first thing. We go and we bolster the actual sovereign body that is recognized, because it is recognized internationally. That flag, if you're a sailor and you're out at sea, that's the holy grail of flags out on the ocean. Right. They know it's a thing, but you never see it. Now, currently got a friend, Mary Marsh and Tim, that have been traveling around, started in the Pacific, and they've gone Australia, Thailand, Singapore, and they've just gone to Kuala Lumpur, and they're getting in just using that flag.
Wow.
Anyway, that's the first thing. And it's decentralized as well, which is good. For it to run healthy, it should be decentralized. So that's every community, every whānau, every hapu talk for themselves. And that we know so whatever's good for us in Horo Whenua doesn't necessarily means that's what's good for your community where you are. This is why central power is no good. And central power always leads to absolute corruption, which is what we've currently got. Yeah. So we need to take it back to community sovereignty. And individual sovereignty, but a place where we can come in our collective capacity, which is Te Waka Meaning o Ngā Rangatira, so the gathering of the chiefs. Yeah. And then we need our systems in place. So we need our own spheres of influence. The powers that be control 5 spheres of influence, and we need to counter it with our own spheres. One in education, and they should all be run decentralized. So everyone, general consensus is what rules on how we shake and rattle and roll. Yeah. So we need one in education, because of course they use universities and that to indoctrinate us, to teach us what they want us to know and keep us in our box. 2 is health. They want us to be dependent on their pharmaceuticals and not use the therapeutics. This is part of the fauna and that as well going, and the Y262 claim, all of that. So there's the health, there's the education, then media. We need our own. So what you're doing here is really great. This is part of one of those spheres of influence. Of course, they control the propaganda, so they control what the masses think and how they're going to feel and vote in their democracy. So we need our own sphere of influence within there. We need our own finance and economics. So however that works and looks, and economics is actually a really big conversation, and it's probably the biggest one out of them all when talking, because you see all these spheres of influence all interlock and connect into one another as well. They all support one another. Of course, the finance supports the media, the health, the education, and then the fifth sphere would be the governance. And what does that look like? What does the governance look like? Well, if we run off Te Tiriti or Waitangi and he whakaputanga, well, that's sorted. We recognise internationally. We have the right to trade and economy to create our own, so we're safe there. And the governance is decentralised, which is, and another beautiful thing with those documents is we are the only nation in the world that has got a sovereign body that is not owned by the corporation and is decentralised. And for those that don't know what I mean, is there are thousands of chiefs in the country. You may be a māngai or a chief of your whānau hapu. So there are heaps of us. So they can come for me, but my cousin's still going to be here. So they've got to take us all out to get rid of those documents. Yeah. So they can't unless they're doing anyway, I don't want to get into the political stuff, but no. The 5 spheres of influence. And when we can, so I've actually been working on this page I started, jurisdictional kōrero, where people would ask me how I was able to do A, B, and C on my whānau whenua, as I'm not an owner on the land, but nor do I wish to be an owner. I don't want to be an owner. Anyway, that's how the group started. So I thought, I better fast track these guys on what I know jurisdictionally and get them up to speed with the constitutions and jurisdiction. But while I was doing that, I thought, actually, what I'll do in the next meeting is start talking about the decentralized and community building and how we can build healthy communities. This has been a part of my mahi too. I've built a couple of communities, and I'm part of an old community too. It's whānau. It's a family community. And anyway, so I thought, let's start building these 5 think tanks. and there's two other think tanks in there too. I just purposely leave them out because one is the arts and culture sphere. This is another important sphere of a community, and then the Waitangi sphere, which is the spiritual sphere, which is interlocks everything. But I just didn't want to bring people into that. I just asked people if you can just put good intention into that sphere.
Yeah.
And we let that, we call it Waitangi, let it flow through and let it do what it does, and just put good intention, whether you into Allah, Buddha, or God, or Inga Atua, or whatever, whatever your buzz is, just put that good intention in. And so, really working these spheres of influence, because these are the ones that, one, counter the powers that be with their spheres of control. And two, it will create for a good, healthy community. So I really think that's what we should be doing. One, acknowledging and recognizing and supporting the Confederation of Chiefs, or Te Waka-meaninga. And you see there's a few of them. There's a few that have made up their own too, a Waka-meaninga Māori government. There's a Waka-meaninga proclaimed hapu. But we need to stick to the one that says on that document, they go and meet at Ngāhuru up at Waitangi on Waitangi Day and form Congress to frame their laws. That body of chiefs there that are mandated and through bloodline and selection of their people are there to sit and represent. So that's the first thing. We need to, we should be supporting that constituted body, that sovereign body, and being, so they can recognize who you are when you come into that space of Congress. So that, and then build our community. So, because when we have that and the backing from that, that means the powers that be can't come in and go, oh no, you can't do that. Well, yes, we can. There's this document here, and we really need to fight to protect the articles within here, whakaputanga and te Tiriti or Waitangi, not protect the principles. It's over for that. And the only, like I said, the only ambiguity here is that of the government. And of course, they give to the Pākehā. They say, oh, it's too tricky in that, So we've given these principles anyway, and we want our democracy. It's not a democracy, for starters. Anyone that thinks it is a democracy, you might have to go have a bit of researching around. You'll find the boss, there's one boss. But, and to support that. And in doing that, if I have a healthy community and you have a healthy community, but my cousin over here has a community that has disco lights and a bit of alcohol and they're partying a bit too much, they will naturally develop and adopt our ways of, so let's say I'm the builders and the hunters, you've got the gardeners and the healers. Of course, I will support you with your community, with the building and etc. and bringing meat. You would bring us some beetroot, and when we've got a whatever, you'll rub it out or give us a bit of to drink or whatever you do. And they in the disco community there will start adopting our ways, creating a healthy community as well, therefore being able to support our community. So I hope I painted a clear picture, not got too lost in it all.
No, that's great. That's absolutely great. And I can see that. I sort of already see in different ways many people bringing those communities together. So many now have taken their children out of the educational system, the main system there, the homeschooling, and they're bringing these homeschool pods, sort of thing together and creating these lovely little spaces for these gorgeous kids. So that there for me is like, let's just keep doing that shit. Like, just
when I first started this group, so we're at about 4,000, and it was only about 35 of us when we first started this about 3 months ago. We got like about 4,000, but it's made it a bit hard now because I don't intimately know everyone that's in the group. But that's all right. I could just still share knowledge and still work with those original people that were in and let people know. And, now we've got someone that's been in banking for 30 years that works in digital currency and created their own coin to be able to talk in that financial sphere also with another economist and that understands decentralized systems. And so that's good. And of course, it's heaps of teachers. But when I started this, I was actually up in Tiriti, and they've got a school up there where they only opened it up for 2 days of the week, and they'd bring someone open up their land with a few animals and some gardens and get the children in there doing some work. And then one of the parents went down there and helped teaching the children how to build. So they built this kiosk where they'll make coffees and pumpkin soup. So the mothers would come down, that would bring their children, and they'd congregate around there, get their coffee, have their coffee down there, and then they had skills. So next minute, the parents are coming down, teaching all these different things, and the children, there's no like classroom. They gravitate to where they want to be. If they don't want to be by the water and they want to go up in the bananas and pick and harvest some bananas, that's what they do. And they've got someone there teaching them, and they, I thought it was really beautiful. Actually, it was the most beautiful school that I've seen. And by the time I was 14, I'd been to 13 different schools, so I know about like different schools. But this thing here was like, So things like that we need to create. It's on us to create it, but have we got that jurisdictional protection in creating? So we're not going to have the big bad guy banging on our door saying you can't do that, here's a fine and jail next time you go. Well, yes, we can. And this is why I say this is the importance of those documents, and this is the importance of the Confederation. And that place has space for everyone, but we just need more to be aware of what it is. No mai hara mai, ki te Waitangi, all welcome to Waitangi. Mount Waitangi and Taurangatira. That's the bottom grounds, and you'll see some carvings there on Waitangi grounds. Now that's Taurangatira, and they've got a little sign across the road at the beach, and you won't see it, but if you know it's there, it's just on the beach there along the walkway, and it says on there that this is the place where we come to frame laws. This is where it was established here, where the laws are to be framed, and where trade and economy are run out of. And what people don't realise, there's a flag up at old Busby's residence that's up there that flies. Now, that's the instrument that controls the trade and commerce. Well, we, the people, need to take it back. We need to take it back and create our own, because we have the lawful right to do it. And we constituted. Those other guys, they have an assumed power and assumed authority, because we assume that they have it, and we gave it to them by registering and this and that. So stop with the birth cert. Stop giving our children and our grandchildren birth certs. Let's start creating, but we need that constituted body, sovereign body, bolstered a bit. If you know what I'm saying. I'm not saying we have to, but if we want to create this future going forward, we have the jurisdictional right to do it, and that's where it starts. That body there, and it starts at home. Us creating it, knowing our neighbours. Gone are the days of. I'm assuming we're around the same age.
Yes, probably.
At a time where I knew all my neighbours. Nowadays, we're just behind our fence, and I don't even really know this dude's name or what he does. That was a foreign thing back in the 80s and maybe the 70s if you're around then.
It was, totally, Yeah,
we knew everyone on our street. We knew that the Auntie Sue down there makes some nice jam. She was my auntie, but we called it, she was as good as. So, but
community too, John. Like when I like that, growing up in a community like that, it was like the community grew, looked after all the children. I mean, I remember, mum getting phone calls about, oh, Mandy's doing this, did you know, and it used to annoy me, but they were keeping an eye on me as well, not just my mum and dad, it was great. That's how it's meant to be. I know that too.
Yeah, because we are naturally, we are social people. We want to get stuck in and be proactive and productive within our space, within our communities. But we've been funneled into this space where it's like we just watch what's inside our fence. Like whatever's happening over there is not my problem. I've got my own problems going on. I'm just trying to keep food on the table. And now, for an average family, their option of meat now is mince and sausage. Times are hard for everyone now. Like gone are the days where you go to your butcher or your local market gardener, and the produce is different. My whānau are quite lucky. We have a community, and we have a lot of. Quite a lot of land that we're able to go fish and hunt and provide for ourselves. And I'm looking at a lot of the country, and they wouldn't it's not even a dream of theirs, because they're like, I'm not even in a position where I can even dream that.
Yeah.
So in saying that too, my uncle has actually just given me 100, because he knows what I've been doing. He's just given me 100 acres to give to families that want to be self-sufficient on freehold Māori land. It's good hunting, it's coastal property, and give them an opportunity to go. He said, give them a lifetime interest, or whatever.
Yeah.
Because he knows as well that this is really important. That, like, I hear all the politicians saying it, get our country back on track. This is always a mantra of theirs, that it's like back on track. Yeah, like back on track to, like, the only ones that are going to get us back on track is us, the people.
It is.
And
Totally
it's when we create it. So my uncle's seen this, and so I was stoked that he's done that.
Yeah.
And if that's good, we will be giving off more. And even from me going and putting that out, I saw a lot of other Māori that have Māori land said, we would love to do this too. How do we do the ABCs?
Yeah.
I'm like, I'll get on the jurisdiction court, we'll have a chat.
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah.
That's really cool. Did you watch the River of the River of Freedom, the movie about the Wellington sit-in?
Yes, yeah, I did actually.
That part in the towards the end about the Kaumatua's tent.
Yeah.
Oh my God, that there said, that was so powerful. And I thought, that's what they know. They know that they cannot touch. They cannot touch us. Like, that's it. That was so powerful and spoke volumes to me.
Yeah, that was really cool. They had come down, because I was before the Parliament. I was at so I don't know if you saw me on there. I featured on there quite a few times on that on that doco. But anyway, pre the Parliament occupation, me and my partner, we were down at Shelley Bay, and we had actually just started the Mahanga occupation too in the peninsula there in Wellington. Yeah. So after that, we were able to bring a few people. There was about 70 that stayed on, 50 to 70 people that stayed on with us. But after the 2nd of March or whatever day it was, man, we had like 200 vehicles out there. It was just a big overload of. But they had come over. It was Te Hapu Tionioni, the old. But I was with them at the start there, where they tried to trespass us when they tried to first rip our tents out, and then we hit him with the trespass. It was him who issued it. And so that was really grouse to see the Kaumatua tent stay, and then they still got the footage of them just sitting and holding space and say, no, you do what you're doing, you're not touching us. And they left them. So that was quite empowering seeing that, So
powerful. And that first dude, he was all dressed a cop in his robo gear, coming in there. And he actually walked over to touch her arm. He was gonna try and bring her out of there, but then he just changed his mind. It was like, oh my God, you can't do that. You cannot do it. I was so wrapped. It was so beautiful. I cried lots of tears over that part. It was just beautiful. So
I was actually really happy about COVID. That, like, I'm not like happy that like they scammed us all. They're full blown. It was a big scam, and they got us. But the reason why I was happy, because from the occupation, to be honest, I was at a point in my life where I did not care about the state of the nation, about what the government. You see, I've known all this stuff like for a long time. I come from my mother, and anyway, I did not care. I was done, because I was done with people like looking at us, thinking that we're, go back home, get a job, all this stuff. And I was like, nah, you're not constituted. You have no right, and you don't know our story. And if you did, you'd be standing here with us. Yeah. So I was like, and I didn't know what COVID was. I was like, oh, well, catch it. We're just going to be sweet in our little bubble. You guys, or injection, and whatever happens. I was actually quite dark on it all. But then Laura was Laura was the girl with the dreadlocks that got pulled out naked.
Yes.
Me and her wanted to have a break from the occupation. So we went up to Taupo, and she had been mandated out of uni, mandated out of her job. She was real like anti-mandate. Yeah. So while we're up there at Waitangi, she was like, look, I really want to think on this march down to Wellington. Oh, yeah, we'll have a look. And then we saw a video of Brad Flutie saying, because I thought I'll have a look at it. And it was Brad Flutie saying how it's a bad idea. It's going to be a case of I told you so. When you get down there, you shouldn't have gone. And rah. So I was like, okay, let's go check it out. We'll go to Taupo. We'll stay there the night and wait because I'll be here tomorrow. And when I got there, like I said, I was quite in a dark space with the country at that point. I just wanted whatever happens. So
bring it on.
When I got up that morning and I saw everyone there, what actually got me was seeing people flying Te Kara flag, the white with the red cross. I saw it, and I saw how many Pākehā were there. And I was like, to Laura, I was like, look how many Pākehā are pissed off with their government. And look, they got our flag. I said, they're awake. They know what's happening. And I said, here's our allies. I was like, good. Now we can stand up. So that's what I took from that, and that was a big turn for me. It was like, okay, cool. Now let's open up this space and a safe space to talk about this and how it's all inclusive, where we all fit, how they can move from Article 1 into Article 2 of us, the same way we're able to go from Article 2 into Article 1. And have this coexistence happening. I just thought this is a great time. And then with this new coalition, even my cousin, he's Māori, both sides of my family Māori, he's going, cuz we need to talk to all the family to get national, and David Seymour, and he's saying we need to vote them in. I was like, that's the stupidest thing. One, I'm not voting nothing, but two, if I was, I'm definitely not voting that. He says, no, we need to get them in because it's going to activate the country. It's going to activate Māori to have to come together, but they need to be educated. They need to know what they're marching on and what's actually being attacked here. We're like, and on this, also, our Pākehā whānau as well. Let's educate them on what's actually going down, because this will be the thing that will unify us and bring harmony. Because, like, I'm all for unity, but I like diversity. Diversity is good. I'm not into division. I'm into diversity. Diversity makes for healthy growth in communities, and it's for growth. So I'm into diversity. I'm just not into division. So that unity thing, I'm like, we can be harmonious in the way we move and the way we interact with one another. We might not agree. I might not agree with the colour of choice of your jacket today, but that's your choice, and I can roll with that. I can do maybe that's a bad example, but you know what I mean?
Yeah, I get it. Yeah, no, I get it.
Allah. Yeah. And I practice my faith in God, and that's okay. I'm all right with you doing that. Maybe I could sit down there and get some understanding on why you do what you do, your practices, and I could talk mine, but without attacking each other.
Yes, totally. Totally.
The vision isn't good, and this is what the powers that be use to make sure that we vote for the person that we want to be our voice, because we need a voice. Well, why can't we just be the voice? Why can't we just create and do what's right for us, and let the guys over the other side of the hill, they do what they do and what's right for them. And maybe at Christmas we get together and have a big old a big old feast or whatever, celebration, and bring you there and take one of theirs and bring them over with us. I don't know. So we used to do it back in the day, but I think we can find that harmony, these documents, understanding of but that's kind of why I went back onto this space too, because I was just tired. I was tired of talking about it, no one listening. So I saw COVID, especially when I saw the Pākehā flying that flag, and with Māori as well. I was like, yes.
Yeah. No,
they've got a chip on their shoulder with the government, and they must know about this document too. So this is a good thing.
It was perfect in waking the people up. Honestly, it was. I was a bit like you too. And felt like bashing head against a brick wall. People weren't listening. Yeah, for sure. All my life in the mahi I do, which is in that Wairoa space, and it's like they're not getting this, they're not getting it. And then that happened, and I was a bit shocked in the way that it rolled out. I have to say, I knew as a kid that we were coming into a time like that, but I didn't know, I hadn't seen in what way it was going to play out and how it was going to present itself. And I do say, God, I was shocked. It was like, what are you doing, you people?
Yeah, right in front of our face, like even
blatantly harming people. What the hell? And I couldn't get my head around that shit. But anyway, it was good in the sense that it all woke lots of people up. And now, such a huge wave of consciousness that's happening on the planet now. you know,
Yeah, there's a
and
big awakening going on.
oh my God, yes, it's so awesome. And this is
The evil
why.
was right in our face. It blatantly just put it right in our face. And I know a
Yeah.
lot of our people had, these things on, and like
Yeah, they did.
stuff, the iwi and
Yeah.
that were promoting, get your booster. My brother and my cousin went to an iwi AGM the other day. They're still promoting the shit. It's like,
No.
I thought they were told, like, you all got it. There were none of us, we're not scared to hungy and that. We're not scared to like sit down at the
No.
table. Like, the only ones worried about it are those that shot themselves up.
Yeah, for
And the
sure.
iwi and that are still pushing it, and it's like, but
Yeah.
for us, for Māori, we've always known that the problem are iwi. They are government. They're in government pocket, and they're a manufactured government entity. That's all iwi are, and they're a way to shut the hapu and the whānau up. Because hapu and whānau are the power, are the actual mana, and the hapu are just a registered group of people that got together and managed to get a few people to sign this paper so they could mandate to the government, be the mandate to talk on behalf of all those people, and never knew what was happening.
Yes.
And so that was, but yeah, the evil right in front of us, and it wake a lot of people up. But it's not just that now; it's a whole lot of consciousness and awakening going through the world, and it's vibrating. Even those that were like not awake to it, they are waking. But then the other thing is there are a lot of us that were awake at the time, and I kind of feel that a lot of them, they've gone back to bed and they're awake, but they're in bed and waiting for the coffee to come to them instead of getting out of bed. You got out of bed before when we went to Parliament. Stay out of bed, and there's work to be done. But it was like when the government take the foot off the throat a little bit, they're like, I'll go back to bed now. They jump into bed and just watch the TV. But there was a huge consciousness and awakening and gone through the world. And I'm happy for guys like Russell Brand that are, really talking about this. It's because it's needed. And now is the time. We're going to have no other time. The time is now. And I think right now there's four battles that I can identify. One, the first one is the spiritual battlefield.
Yeah,
that's all. And then there's the physical. So this is where we're creating the society that we want moving forward. Yeah, that's a battlefield. And then we have the jurisdictional battlefield. So now with these documents and the things that constitute or don't constitute to give us jurisdiction to work in. And the fourth one I've just discovered, which is the cyber battlefield. Now, on each of these battlefields, this is what I spoke about on my page, was first there's four things we need to do on each of these battlefields. One is identify who is the problem or who is the enemy. Yeah. Two, be able to recognize the terrain and what we're battling on and what the terrain looks like. Three, we want to know the tools that are at our disposal, both in engagement of war, what they have and what we have, and how we battle on that battlefield. And fourth, know ourselves, know our strengths, and know our weaknesses. My weaknesses may be your strengths, and your weaknesses may be my strengths. So when we get all these things, and to be honest, I think the spiritual battlefield, I think our I'll call them tohunga, or our spiritual workers, our spirit workers and light workers, they're doing the mahi. I think it's just the physical and the jurisdictional stuff now, and a lot of that is actually controlled by the cyber battlefield. So when we align all those things, we'll get it right, man. We'll find that, and we will. There is a huge awakening going on. There is a war of consciousness going on. Yeah, and that's how I see this thing with the treaty stuff at the moment. It's not a race thing. They make it a race thing. It's a consciousness thing. Because we have Māori that are so colonized. They are the government. They are the what are they, like the henchmen or the puppets of the government? They're doing the crown dirty work. And then we have a lot of Pākehā that are here with us, battling for us, supporting us, whether it's financially, whether it's just through their knowledge and their resources as well, and they want the same as us. So I'm looking at it, it's not a race thing, man, it's a consciousness thing. Yeah, and it never has been a race thing for me. It's always been a consciousness thing, and annoying in the sense where it got separated into that race thing. I've watched that, and I was hoping over this
treaty stuff that there wasn't going to be a further division in that as well. It was like, shit, this could really escalate into a civil war. Really.
Yeah.
And
that's what we're really trying to avoid.
Yeah, for
I
sure.
feel that that's been intentionally done because a civil war would actually activate the United Nations to go in and go, hey, forget both the constitutions. They're both gone. Here's one for you now. And there'll be a selection, no more elections. And I already feel, like I was saying it last year, I was saying this is potentially going to be New Zealand's last election.
Yeah, I believe that.
Get their way, this will be the last election.
Yeah.
Even though I think it was started last year, I was saying we've got 8 more years before we become a one world. There's a one world government dictating on how we live. Then I think at the end of the year, I was going, I think about six years. And at the start of this year, I was like, shit, I think we got about 4 years till now. It was like, I don't even think New Zealanders are going to get a chance to vote again.
We've sped it up, eh? Like actually, consciously, we've really sped things up. Yeah. Movement's moving really, really fast. I love it. I love this time that we're in. I love the potential, of what we can do here. It's like, whoa, bring it on. That's been my haka all my life, is just bring it on. Come on, let's get on with this.
I think so too. Like my cousin was saying, no, we vote for these fellas in so we can get it on. We're here now, and we're ready now. We're ready mentally, we're physically ready. It looks like the cards are, everything, all the ducks are in a row. We got the Confederation there. People are waking up, like, it's going down. Like, that's why my cousin was like that. And he said, let's bring it on.
Yeah, totally that. Oh, look, Te Pou, it's been beautiful talking with you. And I honestly high five and all the good stuff to you for doing what you're doing and bringing this awareness to people, the understanding, and you do put it in a way, throughout your whole kōrero. Every time I've heard you chatting away there, it's like you put it in a way that's really easy to understand, and that's why I was so eager to get you on Shoot the Breeze with me, so that we can put it out there to many more people that may not see you, find you, know about you, and open that doorway a bit more for you as well, and all that kōrero, for understanding.
That's good. I'm glad you found me, or that we found each other, and we can have this kōrero, and get it out to the people, and let's actually sit down and have this conversation. He ahata kai o te rangatira. What is the conversation of the chiefs? He kōrero, it's conversation, dialogue, and negation. That is how we're going to progress going forward, when we can sit down, have these conversations, actually put it down on the table, knuckle it out, and let's get on with it.
Absolutely.
And I think time is now. Yeah.
And also become good listeners, because it takes listening to what people are saying rather than trying to figure out what I'm going to say to counteract what they're saying. Just actually listening and feeling it, coming in on that. Yeah.
Yeah, and I know I can rattle on sometimes, and for anyone that is listening, if you do tune into me, excuse me, I've been really good on here. I've got a foul mouth. Sometimes I'm really, it comes out, I'm quite passionate, and it comes out in my things. So yeah,
I know, I love it though. I love it because you're raw. It's real. We all can talk like that when we want to. So yeah, it's great. I love it. I love what you're doing. I love how I see you.
I'm really passionate about protecting our nation, all of us. I want to see a revolution, but one that's for the betterment of all. Yeah. And I've talked of many solutions and many ways that we can do this. But anyway, we're at this point now, and let's rock and roll. I say, let's sit down and have conversations and get it happening.
Yeah, for sure. Bring that on. Beautiful.
Anyway, thank you for having me, and it's been a pleasure. Yeah, e mihi ana ki a koe, e mihi ana ki a koutou. Kia ora.